So today's meeting is due to the recent raids that happened a few days ago that have affected a community where our local Border Patrol has raided two businesses in the Sandusky area and now has 114 women and men in custody. And not only do they have them in custody, they have now separated children from their parents. And so what we have here today is community leaders, we have elected officials, we have organizations, we have our local police chief, and we're standing here in Lorain County, in the city of Lorain, in the 6th Ward, one of the highest Latino populated communities in Lorain County, standing and saying that what the Border Patrol did, ICE and U.S. Customs, was uncalled for and is nothing but pure bullying by our United States President. It's easy to go after men and women that are working rather than what he promised, and that was going after drug dealers, murderers, gang members, and killers. And doing that, you have to spend more time and money searching for these people. And what Border Patrol has done, and what they're probably promising to continue to do, is they're going to go after these men and women that provide for families, provide for their children. We heard a story yesterday of a man that was taken away from his children after being in the United States for 30 plus years. Now you have a grandchild, you have a child or a young adult without a father. Not only does this hurt the family, it hurts our economy, because when Border Patrol does these raids, not only do they separate them, they hurt the economy, and now it's the taxpayers that our president and everyone else that supports these bullying tactics promise to protect us are not doing, because once they are taken into the system, these children, it's us, the United States taxpayers, that have to pay for these services for these children. And so we stand here united, not with just the city of Lorain, but with multiple groups, Latino groups across the state of Ohio that have decided to work together and fight for justice for our undocumented community here in Ohio. And we're working with groups like American Voices, Latino Alliance Immigration of Northwest Ohio, Catholic Charities, Flock, ABLE, American Immigrant Lawyers Association, Lorain, Ohio Immigrants' Rights Association. Did I say it correctly? Right. Okay, I just want to make sure. And so that's why we're here today. And so during this press conference, you will hear from some of these leaders here and what they're doing and how they can assist us. So the first person that I'm going to recognize is Nick Turner in the back. He is United States Congresswoman Marcy Kaptur's representative here in Lorain, and he has a press release that the Congresswoman released yesterday on the webpage, and if any media won't like it, they can get it from him after this press conference. Next person that I would like to invite up is Janet Garrett. She's running for Congress, and not only is she running for Congress, she is working in Norwalk and with some of the families and some of the churches there, so I'd like to invite her to come up first.
Thank you very much. You know, this didn't have to happen. This didn't have to happen. This is not what America is about. What we need is comprehensive immigration reform, and then this kind of thing would not be going on any longer. My biggest concern is the separation of families from their children. I am a retired school teacher. I worked with children for 35 years. I have 3 grown children of my own. I understand. This is traumatizing to children. We cannot be doing this to children for political gamesmanship, and that's what it's about. We have got to do better. This is exactly why I'm running for Congress. We have a representative right now who is the opposite of a problem solver. In fact, he works really hard against those who are trying to solve problems. I want to help solve these problems. We should be looking for the best of American values. We should be looking for kindness. And that is why I'm running. We can do better. Thank you.
Next week, I'd like to invite Lorain County Commissioner Matthew Lundy.
Thank you, Councilman. Proud to serve as a Lorain County Commissioner in a county that values and embraces diversity. We have a very large Hispanic Latino population in this county. We've been working on a lot of initiatives, trying to work with families that are even transitioning here from Puerto Rico. Too often, though, we're seeing incidents where just because someone is of a different skin color, that they become a suspect. That shouldn't be happening in America. As a public servant, our first concern always is the safety of individuals. And parents can clearly attest to the fact that the biggest concern is always the safety of their children. No child should have to go to bed at night worried about being separated from their parent, or wake up in the morning being worried about being separated from their parent. The actions that are taking place right now are immoral and un-American. We definitely need immigration reform to address this issue. I also am calling on the Attorney General and the President to change their position on this, to start telling us more about how they're handling this issue, not separating parents from their children. You know, I had a conversation with our Children's Services Office. They don't get a call from ICE when something like this happens. You know, ICE has this program that's set up. These children end up in basically what amounts to a migration camp or facility. And at that point, they can be separated from their families, they can be deported, they can be sent to another state. That is not the America that we know and love. This is immoral, it's un-American, and our first responsibility is to take care of the children of this country. Thank you.
I think that does it for elected officials. I want everyone to know that it's not easy to be an elected official and to be outspoken on issues like this, race issues. People think elected officials should be one way, and as many times as we stood up and we've done this, we have, over the past year, I've been called all different type of racial names for standing up against Border Patrol in our ward. Someone approached me a couple weeks ago and asked me and a few other friends, do we speak English? On Monday, someone put on my Facebook page the Roseanne thing, Muslims and Planet of the Apes equal Councilman Arroyo. That's the world that we live in. And so we're here as elected officials and we're standing for what's right, not for what a party wants, not for what an individual person wants. We're here representing our people, not those that just vote, but those that live in our community. And so I'd like to next invite Joe Mendiola from Lorain, Ohio Immigration Rights and Association.
Well, thank you very much, everybody, for being here. I know this is a very, very important issue, especially to our undocumented community, our immigrant community. And I'd like to say that Loida and El Centro have been collaborating for the last 4 years. We've dealt mostly with the issues that affect this undocumented community, and you know, it's one of our Loida's mission. Loida is Lorain, Ohio Immigrant Rights Association. Has a vision to empower the immigrant community so that they know the immigration laws, that they know immigration rights. When they're detained, they will be able to talk to an immigration lawyer if they so do please. But the important thing is that they know their rights. You know, Loida has also empowered them with these right to know, the right to know your rights seminars that Loida's every once in a while presents to this community, and it's been pretty successful. Loida's, we pledge to work with other national leaders, with organizations, and we also Right now, we're working with Catholic Charities and Jobs with Justice and in the Centro. And I'm sure in the coming days, the list is going to become bigger. But we're in this, and we're going to send a strong message to our president that we will not tolerate the separation of families. We will not tolerate this inhuman act. It's not right. It's not America. And we pledge to resist the actions of this administration. Thank you.
Next, we'll have Sister Kathy McConnell from Sacred Heart Chapel, one of Northeast Ohio's biggest Latino churches.
Thank you. As many of you probably remember, Pope Francis spoke to Congress in September of 2015, and his message about immigration was that it was very important that we, or Congress better said, come up with immigration reform that is just and at the same time that enables people to come and to start a new life. One major point that he had was that to whom much is given, much is expected, and that we've been blessed in our country with resources, and that we have what we need, and that as a result we have a greater responsibility than many other countries to share what we have. He reminded us that we're a nation of immigrants. Our Bishop, Nelson Perez, is the son of first-generation Cubans, and he is working very hard. Sorry about that. He is working very hard to try to help families get papers in order so that when there are raids like what we experienced in Sandusky, there's a place for the children to go, there are people who are ready to take them, that their possessions and all the things they've accumulated over many years being here are in hands where they're going to actually be able to try to get them back in some way in the future. But I think that it's critically important that Congress acts and does something, because as everyone has said, this isn't the country we were born in. This isn't the country that we recognize, and we just can't continue to allow this to go on. At Sacred Heart Chapel, we do not even know how many of our families were affected by this raid. I'm absolutely positive about one family, but it's very difficult to get information because the parents are not able to make calls. The children don't know where their parents are, and there's just a lot of trauma. And so we plead with Congress to please do something that's both just and merciful.
Thank you. Before I go to our next speaker, I want to let the media know that after the chief, we'll be inviting Victor to come up, and from Victor will be making a phone call. So if you guys, when he lets you know to move your microphones to the speaker, Victor will be reaching out to some of the workers that they have that have been in the community since immigration has basically raided this location, and he will be speaking to employees to give you guys what they are experiencing on the streets. So next, I'd like to invite a milestone in our community, Chief Celestino Rivera from Lorain Police Department.
Good afternoon, everybody. Just bear with me a little bit. I'm kind of getting my thoughts together. I just came from another meeting. I'm completely different. So, because of my 47 years of service, I know I'm identified primarily as a police chief, but I'm not here today speaking in that capacity. I'm here at the request of El Centro, speaking as a member of the community and as a member involved in the Catholic Diocese welcoming the stranger. What happened in Castalia and Sandusky is sad and disheartening. It does not make anyone safer. It was designed to create fear and send a message to a very specific population. It does not even make sense as a law enforcement strategy. These humble, hardworking men and women pose no threat to our national security or public safety. It was political theater based on an agenda led by our top leaders that spews hate, creates fear, demonizes immigrants, and is used as a wedge issue to permanently polarize our nation. The use of 200 heavily armed officers with assault weapons, with air cover, conducted in the style of a military operation, and hauling 114 persons off to an undisclosed detention center in secret while refusing to identify persons taken into custody or sharing their whereabouts reflects a mindset that this is a war and we're dealing with enemies. It's more reminiscent of a different era, in a different time, in a different continent, about 75 years ago. And that should give us all pause. These field and garden workers, with their quiet, humble, and respectful demeanors, they're easy picking. It's the low-hanging fruit. Not a whole lot different than narcotic officers when you get the people that are hanging out in the corners. They're easy picking because it's easier than dealing with violent cartels or gang members or the people that are bringing the poison into this nation. When you fail at that and you want to send a message, we're doing our jobs, you go after the easy pickings. And these people are just that. You have to probably understand a little bit of the history here. In 1986, President Reagan gave a sort of amnesty, but it didn't solve the immigration problem. For the next 15 years to 20 years, until 2001, 9/11, there was no enforcement of the immigration laws. When we called, they didn't come. They said, just release them. They didn't arrest or deport undocumented. They didn't go to employers and enforce the rules because they were so desperate for that cheap labor, and it met our economic needs. So as a result, they came undeterred, and now we have 11, 12 million of them here. And a lot of them have been here. Yeah, actually what we did, we had two signs. We said stay out at our border, and we had a sign that says help wanted. And so some of these people have been here 25, 30 years. They have families, they have homes, and many in Lorain County, believe it or not, were actually recruited by these companies who went to Mexico and brought them here. From the law enforcement perspective, we can't be everywhere, and we need the help of those that we police. And we can't expect people to call the police if they're afraid that they're going to get deported or we're going to deport one of their family members. And they're not going to come forward as witnesses for dangerous and violent crimes if they think they're going to get deported. You know? And we can't have a segment or a subculture of our community who doesn't have police protection and are exploited, victimized, and exploited by everybody because they know that they can't make a complaint or somebody's going to call, ICE and have them deported. I personally believe that the separation of these families is unconscionable, morally unconscionable. We're breaking up nuclear families and failing to recognize the dignity and the humanity of these people. So you wonder from yesterday, a couple of days ago, how many children are left? Where are these children? How many came home and didn't have their parents anymore? Who's going to take care of them? It's funny because I hear people talk about the rule of law. There is no rule of law if you have 12 million violators. We don't even know who they are because they're too afraid to come out and they can't get driver's license. We don't even know who they are. So there is no rule of law, But I guess what bothers me personally is I don't see the outrage. I don't see anybody speaking out and crying out about the moral, the moral sense of the issue or our American values. The silence to me is deafening. And where are the Americans who treasure our values? Who believe in the words and embrace the words of the Statue of Liberty? Especially our people of faith. why do you dare not speak? I don't understand it. Yeah. So it's time for us, especially in law enforcement, to reflect on our true mission to protect and serve. And that means everybody here, including undocumented, those with mental illness, the homeless, and people of color. It's time for us to all reflect and pause, and before we find ourselves in a country that we don't recognize, and we're desperately trying to rediscover our values. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Next, we'll have Victor, and then from Victor, you'll go to the phone call, and then after that, we'll go to questions. So Victor Leandry, Director of Centro.
I don't need to collect my thoughts too, because I get very emotional. This is Lorain, El Centro is known as the Latino organization here in Lorain County. And we are, city-wise, we're the biggest Latino city in Ohio, percentage-wise. But it's Puerto Rican, and I'm Puerto Rican. But what happened with immigration is a system that is broken. And I know most of the comments that are gonna come from your report is gonna be why they don't go the right way, and why they don't do the right way or get to the country the right way like everybody else. The reality is that it's a broken system. And for Latinos, it's even worse to do it the right way because the way we look and the way we talk. Now, Sandusky is the largest, percentage-wise, the largest Latino community in Ohio. We don't have a Latino organization in Ohio. The two Latino organizations, the stronger Latino organization is in Toledo, and Lorain, and Sandusky right in the middle. We don't have one Latino organization there to protect a Latino community. I'm going to be strong, and I'm going to leave my sensitive side aside, and I'm going to be strong. I just want to give you a picture of what happened yesterday, and it's my responsibility as the Latino, as the director of our Centro, to help in this occasion to our neighbor county, and I will explain you why. Because the effect of a raid like this, we will feel this effect for years to come. Through the economy, to the social services, to the mental health agencies, and from everything. And those effects is going to be start moving toward Toledo and toward Lorain. So that's why we are in the ground, and we are one of the few organizations that got to the ground yesterday immediately, because we know the need, and we know that eventually it's going to be our issue here in Lorain, because those families that are staying behind are desperate and are looking for protection and are looking for a community like ours, so they are. And I guarantee you this, it's going to be our issue in a few months from now. And I'm going to start giving you a picture of what's happening. So yesterday, we spent most of our day being contacted by newspaper, Univision, CNN, everybody, while we are trying to collect our thoughts and figure out what is the process that we're going to do to follow up and get to the community. We have a staff meeting here. We decided that we needed to be there and we needed to be present. Two of our staff that work for the Adult Support Service Department, that is the department that deal with all the Latino issues here in regards to interpretation, immigration, and all the other issues, got in their way and develop a system so they can start going to the community and start knocking on people's door. They left yesterday around 9 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock at night. They were calling me that they were in the bed, going back. What they describe in the phone, it is inhumane. It is sad. They describe people, they describe kids, humble, simple, caring kids, afraid, terrified, scared. They say they couldn't get nobody to open the door. They say the town looked like ghosts. They decided to partner with a pastor to be able to even knock in those people's doors, to be able to get in those people's houses. Because they say it looked like ghosts, like nobody would respond. So they partnered with a local pastor. They started knocking these people's doors. They were able to visit 9 families in all day long from 9 to 9. Only 9 families they were able to went in. They say the process of talking and helping them, it was long, it was stressful, it was sad, and it was taking all the power. They say that they had to deal with issues, but this one was taking everything from them. Now, why do we get involved? Because those kids that are staying behind, from the 2 families rejected our services, and they say they can see in their faces just the fear. They didn't even want to talk to an organization like ours. From the other 6 or 7 families that responded, 22 USA citizens killed them, children under age. 22 U.S. citizen children under age, most of them infants. Children that we know and I know, they're not going back to Mexico because their parents came here with a purpose to give them a better life. And most of those people that are here in that community and here in Lorain, even though this is a Puerto Rican community, we still have an undocumented community. Our members from our community that's been here for 20, 30, and 40 years. So when we talk about broken immigration, we all have different beliefs in regards to broken immigration, but there have to be a comprehensive immigration reform that a nation like this can come together and develop with a path to citizenship. Those kids are not going to leave Ohio. I promise you that. Those are USA citizens, and they're gonna stay behind. From those, there was from 22 children, there were 2 DACA recipients. They said they were the most intelligent, brilliant young guys that they have ever met. There was one specific family that they're talking, that they said there was a 17-year-old DACA recipient with 3 underage USA citizens. And they were being taken care of by their 17-year-old kids. They found another family with kids that the neighbors, not Latinos, the neighbors were the one taking care of them. So these are USA citizens. They say the mental health is already there, the panic, the stress, the PTSD, and they're coming our way. What I'm going to do right now is, and I have a lot that I can say, but I'm going to connect you. Her name is, my 2 staff is Annabelle Baron. She's one of the case working. I wrote it there for you can see it in case that you want it. The other one is Thelma Cruz, and they're right now, they went today to the field again, and they're right now in one of the other family house. And they just informed me that there's a kid or a few kids that want to talk in regards to this. So I'm going to connect you to our staff to describe what they found today over there.
You want me to move your mic or?
Annabelle, Thelma, unmute yourself.
Can you hear Victor?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So, I just want to talk a little bit about what we did today. You talked about a little bit of what we did yesterday. Today we came out and worked in collaboration with different churches to start distributing supplies to the families, things like formula and diapers, milk and food. Like you mentioned earlier, these families are in fear of walking outside or going to the store. They've pretty much barricaded themselves in their houses to the point that they're not even running their air conditioning, but they're taking them out of the walls in fear that they're going to be deported. So we have some families here with us today. Some of the children want to talk about their experience and what they're feeling. I hope that that's okay. The first family that there's 2 boys that want to talk in the first family. This is a family of 3. They've been living here in Ohio for the past 16 years. And they want to talk about what happened when their father was taken by ICE. So I'm going to kind of hand over the phone to them and let them speak and kind of talk about their story.
Annabelle, thank you for sharing that. And how old are you?
How old are you? 10.
10? Okay. I commend you for being so strong and talking to us, and I assure you that my staff will continue helping you, okay? Annabelle, if there's anybody else there?
Yes, we have the brother. How old are you? He's 7, so he's the one to talk to you. Which one? Can you please go my desk? I don't want to go. I'm not thinking on my bed. My brother told me that he got deported. I thought it was a joke. But when I told my mom said it, I'm taking it serious now. And I'm wanting to be back with us. He didn't think he really did me mad. He didn't. He was made to. He was willing to listen. He was everything that we need.
Annabelle, I am so sorry. Could you tell us what you saw today in the community? Just to finish. Could you tell us what you saw, what you experienced today here and there?
It's just very emotional and overwhelming not to see how these families are in such distress and such fear. They're in panic mode. They don't know what to do. The people that there's a wife here that has 3 little kids. She has a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 2-month-old, and she is just in here. She doesn't know what to do. She's desperate. She's willing to share her story if you guys are willing to hear it. She only speaks Spanish, but I know that she's willing to translate for it if you guys have the time for that.
I guess the media, do you guys have time to hear her story, or are you guys on the timeline? Okay, go ahead, Thelma, or Annabelle. Tell us, never mind. Tell us your name, never mind.
Mi esposo se presentó a trabajar e iba contento a su trabajo. My husband went to work that day. He was happy to go to work. Tenemos 16 años de estar aquí trabajando. We have been here for 16 years working in this area. Estamos, verdad, preocupados, estoy aterrorizada por la noticia, verdad, de que recibimos
Gracias, Anabel.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, ladies.
So this is what's happening in that community right now. You're gonna see a lot of empty trailers, a lot of empty houses. Economy going to get down. Those kids are USA citizens. Right now, they're transporting those kids from houses to houses to houses, trying to protect those children. Those children are afraid behind closed doors, just moving around the community. The same thing that is happening with their parents from jail to jail to jail is happening to those children, moving from houses to houses, afraid to be detained or afraid to be taken away from their families. None of the families that we contacted yesterday or today, none of them have one contact with their parents or didn't have no idea where their parents were. None of them, not even one family, have contact with the family that was taken away. And if we think in communities like this one that those kids are not going to come here to get the services that they need, those kids are going to get in our welfare system. Those kids are going to need services for children's services. And we're talking about taxpayer. This is going to show what taxpayer means in regards to having people working and taking care of those families. Now we're going to take care of those kids and many other kids because this is just the beginning.
Thank you. I don't know, Melissa or Roosevelt or any of the newspapers have any questions for any of the panel?
Yeah, I do got a question to everybody. There's some people that believe we're only seeing a prelude of this, I call it blitzkrieg. Very effective in the 1930s, very effective. Poland lasted, a couple days? Trump is not going to change it. The guy is immoral, and how can you respect a president that is immoral? That's what a lot of people believe. He makes sexual comments about one of his daughters. I mean, just go to YouTube, you can see it. The guy's beyond reproach, and most people think we got to go and vote and vote and vote and marches. November's coming up. Vote and these Republicans, they won't even allow a DACA vote. A DACA vote. So what's the answer? A lot of people believe the only thing is vote, 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 march, march, march. Trump is hopeless. It's only going to get worse.
Listen, I'm the director of a non-profit, and I cannot talk in regards to politics. But this administration is not the first one. This problem of immigration has been a problem for years and decades, and we've been trying to deal with this for many, many years. It's getting worse. It's getting worse, but this is not a new problem here in the United States.
So what's
the solution is you're right. We need to take the voting power in our hands because this is undocumented. But we have 50 million Latinos here that can vote, and we need to mobilize the community. And I guarantee you, our community is coming out to vote. Our community, we vote for all the presidentials, and we're coming out to vote. We're mobilizing, we're ready planning, we're ready talking about in Latino communities. We are voting this. We are voting.
Can I say something to that? Can I say something to his comment? When Donald Trump first got elected, he said that he was going to deport criminals, and I supported that. He said that he was going to keep families together, and I supported that. But he has gone so far afield from what he said he was going to do. And it is up to the people to make sure that we get out there and vote. You know, during the primary in Lorain County, we had 11% of people turned out to vote, 11%. We have to do much better than that, while we still have a democracy to save.
Melissa?
Do we know the exact number of kids that are without, I mean, I know there's a guesstimate at this point, but have they tallied it up?
It's going to be very difficult to find out. I know there was one church yesterday that have a hold or helping 50 kids. We visited, like you hear me, we visited like 22 that I mentioned, 22 that it was in homes. So it's going to be very difficult to get to that number because this how scared they are, how the community is built, and how to get to them to even open the door. So it's going to be very difficult until we find. We have a good system. We're working in collaboration with a lot of organizations from Toledo, from Lorain, and other organizations, and we are having a very good system in regards to every time one of these organizations get in contact with family. We are taking the tally and the information of the families, and we're entering databases.
Okay.
So we will have, eventually, we will have some numbers, but it's going to be very difficult.
Is that when you guys had just, as you said, mentioning, is that the system that you guys were taking information and then?
Yeah, we are in our process. Every family that we're doing entry in regards to getting information of the kids, the ages, the situation, the parents, and we are sending that information to other organizations that are collecting and dealing with lawyers. So then we can also inform those lawyers to reach for the parents and try to provide some services. So we have some kind of system in place right now, but we do have, from our end, from our Centro, even before we start talking, we developed our own documentation that is it's a protocol in my agency, but we developed a procedure to get some of the information that we knew we were gonna need.
Lastly,
Oh, sorry. No.
I think most people that see this, they want to help. What can anybody do?
Say that again.
I said, people that see this, they want to help. They want to do something. And, I think a lot of people are just like, I don't even know where to go, what to do. So what do you do? What do you run?
Yes. The first help that I'm going to ask is, we just talk about that, it's the political power. We need to reach out to Congress. We need to reach out to senators. We need to reach out to our governor. We need to reach out to our mayors. We need to reach out to whoever political power we have. And we need to let them know that we are not standing for this. That's the first thing we have to do as a community. We have to do that. The second thing that we need to do is start mobilizing the Latino community. And here in Centro, I promise you that we will put a program in place to help Latino understand how to vote. And we will do that. Now, for the need that we have in the community right now, there's a lot of need of pamper, formula, and kids, and food, and everything like that. There's different organizations that are doing collection. There are different churches that are doing collection. We don't have the manpower in this organization to do that collection. We just finished with a collection helping all the families that we received from Puerto Rico, and we were just starting to take a break when this happened. So I'm going to concentrate my effort in sending my staff to the ground and to help families get connected with the services that they need. But we do have a different amount of churches that are starting to do collection. I know in Oberlin and Sacred Heart and other places are starting to do, and in Toledo. But we do need Pampers. They say, when my staff came today, they say that there was a lot of the families that needed Pamper formula, and we already have collections today that we were taking back. So collection, there's other organizations that are starting, like Lorain, some kind of fundraising, because we know most of these families are going to need money to, some of the lawyers are free, but there's going to be some fee for other stuff, and families are going to need money too. So there's organizations that are starting to collect money too, like Lorain is going to start collecting money, and we have other organizations in Ohio that are already starting to do that too. So there's different ways that we can help. And we will have more information as soon as we get more in the ground. We will be there the whole weekend. We will be there. So as soon as we get more information on how to help, I will communicate that.
So I come from Norwalk, which is one of the communities that has been most hit with those that have been deported. Yesterday we were talking to a lot of people. It is just the children taking care of children and the neighbors taking care of those children. And you talked about how there's not a Latino organization that's able to help in that area. What can those families do?
So I got a cousin. I got a cousin that's married to a gentleman that's undocumented in the process of being deported that lives in Norwalk. And so they have a group that they meet in different locations. They meet some in their housing places where they're staying at, and they meet, and basically this is a support group. Same thing that happened with Hurricane Maria in the Puerto Rican community, supporting them. It's the same thing with this community here. It's a tight-knit community. When some of these groups meet, they help each other. When my cousin's husband was picked up and deported, my cousin was taking care of twins and two other basically 4 children by the age of 23. And she was unemployed, and it was that circle of undocumented families in Norwalk that would go to her house and take her groceries, and they would cook for her, and they would go to the same locations and throughout Norwalk and Willard and Fremont. They come here to Lorain. It's a tight-knit community that supports each other, backs each other up. That what is basically what makes us go. It makes what America go. When America struggles, we get support from other people. When we have these natural disasters, we take care of each other. So it's the same process.
Yeah, and adding to that, A few weeks ago, I was invited to Fremont, Ohio, that is very close to there, to talk about mental health in the Latino community, and there's conversation already talking in regards to the lack of social services in that community. We understand also that the layout of the community is not like a community like this one, like it's more rural and people live more spread around, so it's more difficult to establish a Latino community. But I think out of this, we will be surprised. I think this is going to bring us together, and I think there's a great opportunity. This is, even though it's a challenge, it might be an opportunity for our Latinos community to come together and help this county.
You want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to answer your question, Michelle. If I can answer your question real quick.
Oh, yeah.
You talked about how do we get help? I think there's two groups that are pretty powerful in their own rights that can make a difference, and that's law enforcement and the media. I think if we have people who have the courage and the conscience to do what's right, then law enforcement needs to look at ourselves and speak among law enforcement agencies and law enforcement organizations to say we can't be the pawns that do this, number one. And I think the media can tell these stories, which I think they've gotten away from, but they can tell these stories and use their editorial power to speak for the voiceless. And I think these two groups can probably have an immediate impact.
Okay. Thank you all. Well, I appreciate everyone coming, from Janet Garrett to Commissioner Lundy to Chief Rivera to Joe to Victor for letting us use this location, Sister Kathy. I know we have Pastor
Joyce Schreier.
Joyce what?
Schreier.
She's from South Amherst, and she heard about it, and we're going to continue to build, purpose of this, continue to build our relationship with other congregations and groups throughout our county to help these families. So we appreciate it. We're going to cut it here, end it here, but we'll stay here to mingle with the group. So thank you guys.